Good morning. My name is Joseph Dyer. I am the president of the board of directors of the Pro Bono Resource Center of Maryland. I also am a volunteer at various of their clinics. It is some of my paid supporters in the crowd. It's a wonderful experience. If you haven't had the opportunity, I encourage you to volunteer with some of our programs. And welcome to the 20th Annual Partners for Justice Conference. Let me start by thanking you for your participation today. Also, thank you to our speakers this morning, this afternoon speakers, as well as all the panelists, our sponsors, but especially the Conference Planning Committee. They've done a great job again this year. Sarah Author, our first speaker, and I have a bet between us as to whose remarks are going to be the most brief. Time will tell which one of us loses, but you all will be the winners in either case. PBRC began the Partners for Justice Conference 20 years ago with two purposes in mind. One was celebrating and recognizing all the good work that you all do. And the second was providing a forum where we can come together, share our experiences, current developments in the area of access to justice and pro bono, and learn best practices from each other. In the 20 years since we've started, PBRC as well as the conference has grown very significantly. And I think that's a good testament to the fact that we were on the right track in focusing on those two purposes. And again, this year, the Conference Committee has put together a fantastic slate of panel discussions for us. As many as you know, in addition to hosting the conference, PBRC runs a number of programs. And I'm not going to bore you all with all those programs. They're in your conference materials, and you can look at them on your website as well. I would point out this morning, though, Maryland Free Legal Answers. We started this about a year and a half ago. And it's a method by which qualified persons can pose questions on the internet, and then volunteer attorneys can respond to that. So it's really a fantastic way that our populations can be served, can get their questions answered, as well as a great opportunity for lawyers at sort of minimal impact to do pro bono work. The one reason I bring it up this morning is to suggest to you all that you think about how you might be able to utilize that in serving the populations that you serve. The various programs that PBRC handles, sort of in the same line with the themes for the conference, we do it typically partnering with other organizations, and I know representatives from a number of those organizations are here this morning. And one of those organizations is the Maryland State Bar Association. In fact, the Bar Association is more than a partner to PBRC. PBRC is actually an organ of the State Bar Association. They formed us back in, I think it was 1989. Their Board of Governors are shareholders in effect, and they continue to support us in a variety of ways, including financially. And with that, it is a special pleasure to introduce our first speaker, the president of the Maryland State Bar Association and a longtime supporter of pro bono activities in her own right, Sarah Author.
Thank you, everyone. What an honor and privilege it is to be here this morning, and what an incredible audience you have. I am truly impressed, and I'm truly honored to be here. As Joe Dyer said, the MSBA is committed to providing pro bono services. And it is important. I feel that I'm here today surrounded by friends. There's PBRC, there's Access to Justice, there's Herb Garden. What an honor and privilege it is to have Herb here. Herb is the father of legal services, as I'm sure you all know, and I had the pleasure, he ran me ragged in D.C. 2-3 weeks ago. We were lobbying for legal services before the Maryland delegation, and he was all over the place, knew everybody. He is revered in D.C., and he's revered here in Maryland. And I think everyone feels our origins began, we all began with the work of Herb Garden. It's a real privilege. He's a past president of the Maryland State Bar, but the father of legal services as well. The MSBA, I love that word, an organ. We're part of each other, our relationship between the MSBA and PBRC. We are intertwined. We are forever joined. And it is not just financial. It is also our members. Our 22,000 members are committed to providing pro bono services, and we're able to do that primarily through PBRC, but through other organizations as well. And we appreciate that opportunity, and we are committed to doing so. I want to thank you for inviting me here today, for having this opportunity to speak before you. I'm looking forward to talking to all of you, and as I said, there's a lot of friends, not just organizations, but personal friends, so many people I know, I've worked with, I appreciate, and you are doing God's work. It is for those who need assistance, legal assistance. It's why I practice law. I love the law and have the ability to provide those services to people that want and need them is critical to my well-being as well as to the rule of law and the practice of law. So thank you for this opportunity.
So do I owe Sarah $5 or does she owe me $5? I had the opportunity this morning walking around and speak with a number of people, and I learned many things. And one of the things that I learned was the next speaker requires no introduction. Wilhelm Joseph.
Good morning. I am checking to see what Sharon gave me to do. She said I'm supposed to talk about the legal aid landscape, and I have 25 minutes, she told me, right? Oh, the wrong memo. 2 minutes, she said. As I stand here and I look at the landscape, I recall us being here a year ago. And the feeling in the room was not optimistic. The landscape looked dismal because we were concerned about potential developments on the national level. We've now had a year to witness and experience the rhetoric at the national level and the actual implementation of certain measures at the national level. And it's not anymore reassuring. I think many of you will agree that there's this certain feeling of insecurity and a tension among the people, among us. And if we are in tension, we are not unified as a people. And in unity, there is strength. And in disunity, there is weakness. And that is not comforting. And we know that those of us, our clients, who are actually at the lower end of the totem pole, with no power, no resources, no influence, when the society as a whole gets a cold, they suffer from influenza. And we have this job to do. I think you will also agree, without being a sociologist or whatever, that if there is general insecurity on the national front and the international front, individuals experience certain feelings. Part of that is desperation, depression. If you are depressed and without hope, you either implode or you explode. And then you have people, I think you're seeing the elements of that an opioid crisis among the middle class, imploding, crazy young men who seem to have been raised nicely going out and shooting people. And you see the other end of people who have no power, and the only power they have is the power to disrupt and destruct. That is not a very comforting thing. And one more point before I close out. It's scary on the international scene. So Kim Jong-un says, I got a big bomb. The damn thing exploded and shook up China. I read yesterday where the bomb was tested, the whole mountain has now caved in. I don't want that bomb dropping anywhere near my house. So we hear that we have a bigger bomb, bigger than that. But let me ask you this question. So maybe we could intercept Mr. Un's bomb, but you know humans make things, and everything a human has made has had an accident. A plane engine blew up the other day, and a building falls, and a bridge falls down. So this bomb that's much bigger than Kim's bomb is sitting somewhere. It could be near to us. I don't want that thing to misfunction or malfunction, because we're all gone. So what does that have to do with legal services? Well, we are administering to people who are the lowest end. We're using the rule of law to bring order and stability and hopefully a sense of security and fairness with regard to their basic human needs. We are trying to help them with their housing, their health care, their education, their safety, their sense of self, the safety of their children. If we do that, we could diminish their feeling of desperation, and maybe there'll be less explosion and destruction. And maybe that can set a platform for a better society. So I ask you and I urge you, be more efficient and more effective in what we do. Be more purposeful, and let's be very thankful. We live in a state with great partners. You in the room, great. I see two judges here. They are always on the front line. Judge White and Judge Surratt. Always on the front line of justice for all. We have legislators who will support what we do. So let us be very thankful to all of them, and thankful to Sharon, PBRC, putting together this conference. Thank you all.
Good morning. How's everyone? Good, good, great to hear. Okay, so we are just a few minutes away from, I will, thank you. We're switching things around a little bit. So we are just a few minutes away from the mayor arriving. And so while we are doing so, I wanted to just thank you all for coming. I'm Sharon Goldsmith, Director of the Pro Bono Resource Center of Maryland, the host of the conference today. I'm really, really thrilled, and as Sarah said, just honored to be here hosting this conference and having everyone gather in the community to talk about access to justice issues. It is thrilling and is just really invigorating for all of us, I think, to have one another and to be able to lean on one another in the times that Wilhelm was describing. One of the themes of the conference topics this year that sort of just came up organically is that of empowering and listening to our youth. We know that our youth are our future. We talk about that all the time. But we believe it is our obligation to defend the rights of the next generation to craft a more just and fair society. I'm not sure we've done as much as we can or need to do. We need to listen to them. We need to learn from them. And you will have a chance to hear from one such leader today and at lunch. Several of our sessions also touch upon our immigrant neighbors and the special challenges they face. Deportation presents a stark example of the essential need for legal counsel. The same holds true for eviction or loss of employment or human trafficking, and the list goes on. Based on feedback from evaluations last year, we made a concerted effort this year to include more client voices in the conference, and you will hear them throughout the day. The one overarching theme, however, continues to be that of partnerships. By that I mean real partnerships. Partnerships require trust and the sharing of time, talent, resources, spirit, and ideas. We cannot do this work without each other. We cannot move forward in true partnership without focusing on the end game, and that's our clients. PBRC works hard to create a space to honestly strategize, network, and collaborate in fighting for equality under the law. This conference represents an extraordinary collaboration of legal services lawyers, staff, pro bono professionals, judges, public interest advocates, private and public lawyers, nonprofit organizations, funders, and academics dedicated to access to justice. And today, we've brought together over 285 people whom you can learn from and upon whom you can rely for a shared vision.
Thank you, Sharon. Let me introduce quickly Tom Previs. Tom is with Saul, Ewing, Arnstein, and Lair, but more important for today's purposes, he is the co-chair of Saul Ewing's pro bono committee, and he is going to introduce our, keynote person this morning, Mayor Pugh.
Thank you. It was really great that I got to not have to go after Wilhelm. Thank you, Sharon. I was starting to think, wow, I'm not that good of a speaker. So, yes, thank you. This morning, it's my great fortune to introduce our great mayor, Mayor Pugh, who's come out this morning. We're so pleased to honor Mayor Pugh this morning to celebrate the collaboration of pro bono service providers with the City of Baltimore. Pro bono service providers are absolutely critical to the citizens of the City of Baltimore. As you know, there's so many needs that are met unfulfilled, and it's up to all of us, all of our service organizations, to fulfill those needs where there's really no other safety net. On a personal level, I want to say how closely connected I am to this issue of connecting resources of Baltimore with legal resources with the needs of the City of Baltimore. I started when I was a first-year associate as a representing women in domestic violence cases through the House of Ruth, Maryland, down on North Avenue, which is a critical role. And Wilhelm mentioned how pro bono provides order, stability, and hope to people. And in the domestic violence arena, there's no clearer place where you're providing order, stability, and hope than when you can go and get a protective order and try to bring a little bit of sanity to something that's very, very difficult. And so I started there, and then I became, just by working with them for years, became a member of the board of directors, and now I'm just very committed to the cause of House of Ruth. It's actually the largest, or one of the largest, pro bono service providers in the state. We have 15 staff attorneys and a woman named Dorothy Lennig, who's a wonderful lobbyist in Annapolis on domestic violence issues. So just an example of one service provider close to my heart that connects very much with the City of Baltimore. PBRC plays an instrumental role in connecting service providers like House of Ruth to the people that have the needs. And this year, PBRC has done a wonderful job connecting in three critical areas. First, protecting against federal government mass deportations. This has been a critical issue. Immigration has been very difficult. There's a lot of unmet need. And with OSI funding in partnership with the city, Pro Bono Resource Center of Maryland is expanding its unaccompanied children's project to provide broader consultations and referral services to immigrants at the Baltimore Immigration Court, while continuing to recruit, train, and coordinate pro bono attorneys to work with other immigration legal service providers. And Mayor Pugh has been a big part of making that connection as well. Now, the second critical area is basic needs of the residents of the City of Baltimore. I mentioned one already, but housing and homelessness is critical, underserved. PBRC is playing a critical role there. And tenant representation in landlord-tenant court. I actually had to experience of going there recently, and the dockets are unbelievable, how many people are in these landlord-tenant dockets. It's really quite unbelievable, and so few people are represented. PBRC, in terms of has worked closely with the Homeless Persons Representation Project to recruit and train volunteer lawyers in partnership with others on a variety of civic and legal problems, and then deploy those services in the community. And with respect to the landlord-tenant issues, PBRC tested a pilot tenant volunteer lawyer of the day program in Baltimore City Rent Court with excellent results. Volunteer lawyers step in for the morning docket and represent tenants in failure to pay rent cases. The vast majority of these tenants were able to either reduce their rental payment or avoid eviction, about 68%, based on improper accounting, poor housing conditions, lead issues, et cetera. 59% of those represented in the last quarter had an income of less than $15,000. So really critical work, and again, the mayor's office has been absolutely vital in helping PBRC provide these resources. Finally, the third area, just the basic needs of residents, and the mayor has pressed pause on the city's practice of tax sales for unpaid water bills and other sort of related type utility services. And PBRC's tax sale prevention project with MVLS connects volunteer lawyers to homeowners at risk of losing their home as a result of unpaid property taxes, water bills, or environmental citations. There's community clinics that operate throughout the city throughout tax sale season with volunteer lawyers meet at-risk homeowners. Since this project started in 2014, PBRC served 483 homeowners. One of the primary challenges that PBRC's clients face is resolving issues with DPW relating to water bills, and PBRC applauds Mayor Pugh's decision in 2017 to remove water bills only from liens from the 2008 tax sale due to billing problems and affordability concerns. So just to give you three quick examples of how PBRC is working very closely with the city, we're so fortunate to have Mayor Pugh, and it's a really important, critical collaboration. So thank you. Without further ado, Mayor Pugh.
First, let me say thank you for the invitation to be here. And Thomas, thank you for the introduction. But let me just say, echo some of the sentiments that you've already heard this morning, how important Pro Bono Resource Center is to Baltimore City specifically and to its residents. You know, I think about all of the areas in which you've intervened to help individuals in our communities, whether it is immigrants or those who are suffering from sexual assault or even ex-offenders. I think about the work that's being done voluntarily by lawyers throughout the city of Baltimore to help those who are coming back into our communities who paid their debt to society to help expunge their records. And just think about the folks who freeze every day because they don't know how to access legal services. You know, I think about a young man that I met some time ago on the street and urged him to go to school, and only to find out later that he was homeless. And had we not intervened to assist him, and the legal community had not intervened on his behalf, he is now living in foster care, but with a family that has given him the kind of care that he needs. These kinds of resources are invaluable to the city of Baltimore, and certainly to the citizens who get an opportunity to access them because of your generosity and because of all of the work that you all continue to do. It is really an honor when I think about the opened over 950, I believe it is, 950 new cases, closed nearly 1,000 cases right here in our city, coordinated over 400, almost $500,000 in free legal services just to individuals in low-income areas. People need these kinds of services. I cannot thank you enough for the work that you do every single day on behalf of so many. I think about the immigrants who are still struggling, and then I think about the Statue of Liberty that stands in our harbor that says, "Bring me, you're hungry, you're tired." This is supposed to be a welcoming country, and somewhere we've fallen off of what we said our initial mission was to be in terms of a country. And I also think about all those women who are in need of services, legal services. And I know that I'm talking and preaching to the choir because you all are the ones who are doing the work. And I want you to continue to do the work. You know, when we implemented the freeze on water bills. What I said to the community is that no one should lose their house because of the inability to pay a water bill. But what happens oftentimes, and I remember this when I was a state senator, and I held a day in Baltimore in my 40th district for people who couldn't pay their utility bill. And you would be surprised at the number of people who would walk in with the envelopes still shut, didn't even open them, just in fear of what they thought they could not accomplish because they were struggling with so many other issues. And so we added water and home services and all of those things to that particular group in the 40th district. I remember my first one where people were wrapped around the building and legal community stepped in to help and assist these individuals. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for honoring me, but more importantly, thank you for the work that you do, because I know that so many would suffer if it were not for you. It is hard sometimes to think about what you can do or what you should do when you're struggling just to make it every day. And oftentimes we look at those folks who are homeless and we turn our heads, but if not for the grace of God, it could be any of us. And the reality is that some of them are facing so many struggles that they don't know where to start. And that's where we must intervene, because we want people to live whole and productive lives in our city. So again, thank you. Thank you for this honor.
Well, I just have to thank the mayor for her very heartfelt words. We are truly fortunate to have a leader who cares so deeply about our neighborhoods and social justice in the city of Baltimore. And as a way of thanking and honoring the mayor, we're going to present her with a book of Baltimore theaters entitled Flickering Treasures, signed by the photographer and author, Amy Davis, who was a Sun paper photographer. I'm sorry. Right here. So, I hope you enjoy that.
Thank you.
As well as another token of our appreciation that she can proudly display in City Hall. So,
Oh, thank you. Is that taken out?
yeah, sure. That's the stand.
That's the stand.
It's coming, it's coming. You thought that was it? Okay, so, and it reads, to Mayor Catherine Pugh, for your dedication to access to justice for the people of Baltimore.
Thank you.
So as we are coming close to the closing hour and time for our sessions, I did want to just make another note of thanks to our sponsors who make our work and this conference possible: the Administrative Office of the Courts, the Maryland State Bar Association, and the Maryland Legal Services Corporation, who are all represented here. And specific thanks to conference sponsors including MLSC, Gallagher, Avilius & Jones, Cypher Shaw, and Tracy and Dave Steedman. So we thank you very much for making this possible.